Okay, so I'm back to make the vegan mayonnaise. My last video, I just did a regular homemade mayonnaise, and I told you that I had a vegan recipe. So it's a pretty simple substitution, uh, and it's just the egg that we need to substitute. That's the only part that's not vegan. So I'm going to make the exact same recipe, but instead of the egg, I'm going to be using what's called aquafaba. This particular aquafaba came out of some homemade beans that were homemade garbanzo beans that I made in the Instant Pot. So I had dry beans and I just cooked my own in the Instant Pot. Super easy. Um, it's like a cup of beans to 4 cups of water, and after they cook, this is the liquid that you would normally drain off. So somehow it got labeled aquafaba, and last time I checked, there was still a pretty huge aquafaba group on Facebook. So they do all kinds of recipes using this substance to make all different things and substitute for eggs. So if you get canned eggs, or I'm sorry, canned beans, this would be what you would normally drain off and throw away. So it's up to you if you cook your own beans. Just save your juice. You can freeze it in an ice cube tray, and just depending, you can kind of fiddle around with it. I have an ice cube tray that 1 cube would be equivalent to 1 egg. Otherwise, it's like 3 tablespoons or so. So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna act like this is our egg, and I'm gonna scoop in 3 tablespoons of the bean juice or aquafaba. So hopefully you can see that. Just putting 3 tablespoons in. That'll act as our egg. Then again, our dry mustard. In a pinch, you could use a Dijon mustard that's already prepared. I've used dry and prepared mustard with the same results. But I just happen to have dry mustard now. That's a half a teaspoon of dry mustard. And then the recipe would call for a half a teaspoon of salt. Since this is vegan and I like to make sure that it tastes not vegan for my non-vegan husband, you can use what's called black salt from an Indian food store. It's also called fart salt, which is pretty funny, but if you smelled it, you would know why. It has kind of a sulfury smell. So it kind of gives the mayonnaise that eggy kind of smell, and maybe a little bit of taste. So you won't miss the egg if you were just making this as a plant-based mayonnaise, but still wanted it to taste traditional. If you don't care that it tastes eggy, then just use your regular salt, and that's fine. But I happen to have black salt, so I'm using that. Then, of course, our acid. So I'm using my apple scrap vinegar that I made last year, so it's nice and aged and strong. You could use distilled white vinegar, apple cider vinegar that's store-bought or homemade. You could use lemon juice. This recipe calls for 2 tablespoons, so you could do 1 tablespoon of vinegar, 1 tablespoon of lemon juice. It's really up to you. So as long as there's 2 tablespoons worth, and then I'll give that a little buzz just to kind of get things mixed a little. And then, of course, our oil. I'm using, again, sunflower oil. This one happens to be non-GMO. You could use any kind of oil of your choice. Some of them are heavier, some of them are stronger tasting. I've tried to do an all avocado oil mayonnaise and an all olive oil mayonnaise. It's very, very heavy, very distinct flavor. So it was not really well received. So I use sunflower oil. It's nice and light. It has very light flavor. The lighter the flavor, the lighter the mayonnaise will be. You can combine them. It calls for 1 cup of oil. So if you want to do half sunflower, half olive oil, you could do something like that. So after you make this a couple times and experiment with whatever version of oil you believe is healthiest or readily available to you, or at a price point that you like, then you'll know what you want to use it for, or what oil you want to use all the time. So I'm going to turn this blending stick on, and I use a wide mouth jar just like last time because my stick blender fits right in there, and then this will be the jar that I store my mayonnaise in. So kind of a one pot cooking thing. So I'm going to turn it on. It'll get a little loud, and I will just slowly pour in the oil, and hopefully you'll be able to see this become mayonnaise. Okay, so here's our mayonnaise. This one definitely came out whiter than the last one if you saw the last video. It's also a little bit looser, and that's probably because I used the homemade aquafaba. It was a little bit more liquid than what comes out of a can, which is more of a jelly. So you could always kind of cook it down a little bit to thicken it up if you want your mayonnaise a little bit thicker, but it's still a tasty vegan mayonnaise. Tastes just like the real thing, especially by using the black salt. And there you have a vegan mayonnaise ready to make your lovely vegan mock tuna fish. I make mine out of parsnips. So anyway, that's a vegan mayonnaise right there. If you have any questions, please leave a comment below, and we'll see what I can come up with next time for the next video. Thanks for watching.